Alright, today's lesson is on the differences between the preterite and the imperfect. So in my last video, I kind of went over this. We're going to go over it a little bit more, and you're going to have specific practice that focuses on whether you can tell the difference between the preterite or the imperfect. So generally, the preterite is used for a specific thing in the past that happened at one time and ended. The imperfect in general is used to talk about recurring things or an ongoing situation when something else happened. Let's start off with the preterite. It says express actions that are viewed by the speaker as completed. So Don Francisco broke his leg. That happened and it was done. It wasn't ongoing. It's not like he kept breaking his leg. It didn't happen over a month. It just happened once and was done. Likewise, they went to Buenos Aires yesterday. The trip might take a while, but in general, you go and then you're done going. It's not like you're in a process of going for a while. It's not an ongoing situation. So it is viewed as being completed. Number 2, express the beginning or end of a past action. So beginnings and ends, they happen and they're done. They don't just, it's not like the beginning happens throughout the entire something, like going to a play. The beginning doesn't last for the whole play. It happens at the beginning and it's done. It might take 15 minutes for the beginning to happen, but it still happens and is done. So the movie started at 9 o'clock. It happened at that time, and it didn't keep beginning. It just began. Yesterday I finished the project for chemistry class. You finished it. Maybe you worked on it for a while, but the finishing itself is something that just happens and is completed. Number 3, narrate a series of past actions or events. So the doctor looked in my ears. Okay, that's something that he did, and then he finished. He asked me some questions. He did that. Maybe he asked multiple questions. So, that seems like it's kind of ongoing. But it's not like the questioning is something that just keeps going and going and going. He does that, and then he's done. And then after he does that, after that's done, and then he wrote the prescription. And so we have 3 past actions or events that come after each other. Lastly, I bumped into the table, I fell, and I injured my foot. So each of those things, they happen, and then the next thing happens, and then the next thing happens. So again, doesn't mean that this can only take 30 seconds or half an hour or whatever, but the point is that with the preterite, it's something that happens, and then it's finished, and then something else happens. It's not kind of overlapping quite so much. Whereas the imperfect is used to describe an ongoing past action with no reference to its beginning or end. So it's not like it happens and then the next thing happens when that one's done. This is just kind of in general. So Don Francisco was waiting for Javier. It's not like he waited and then he left, but he was waiting. We're saying that that's his condition. That's something that's happening. And the doctor worried about his patients. It's not like he worried during his lunch break and went home. That's an ongoing thing. It's just in general, he worried about his patients. Number 2, express habitual past actions or events. So when I was young, I used to play tennis. It's not that you still play tennis. You used to when you were a kid, but you don't know how long that happened. It's just in general. When I was young, it's a condition. As a child, Don Francisco used to get sick very frequently. Right? It kind of indicates that he doesn't still do that, but we don't know for how long. Just in general, that was a condition at that time, something that was an ongoing situation. So basically, anytime that you see the phrase cuando era joven, when I was young, or like de niño, as a kid, that that's probably going to be the imperfect. And then lastly, describe physical and emotional states or characteristics. So, la chica quería descansar, se sentía mal y tenía dolor de cabeza. So the girl wanted to rest. She felt ill and had a headache. That's a condition. It's ongoing. and it's not something that she just did and was done with it, but it's something that she desires, and desires generally happen over a period of time without any specific beginning or end. They were tall and had green eyes, right? So it's not like they woke up one morning and put on a mask and put on stilts, and therefore they were tall and had green eyes, but rather it's something that's ongoing, and so therefore use the imperfect. We were happy to see the family. Again, that is an emotional state, and emotional states generally last longer than actions do. Okay, so the preterite and the imperfect often appear in the same sentence. In such cases, the imperfect describes what was happening, while the preterite describes the action that interrupted the ongoing activity. So as we've talked about, the imperfect describes the background, what was happening, whereas the preterite is the one specific thing, the one action that has a beginning and an end that interrupts that. So I was watching TV when the phone rang. So this is what's going on. You don't know when it began or when it ended. It's just happening. But then this, the phone ringing, is a specific action that that interrupts that. It has a beginning and it has an end. Maite was reading the newspaper when Alex arrived. So this is in the imperfect. She was reading the newspaper as an ongoing thing without a beginning or an end when Alex arrived. It's not like he continues to arrive. He just arrives once and is done. But whether that action is, a longer action or not, the point is that in contrast to the background thing that's going on, it's a short action. You'll also see the preterite and the imperfect together in narratives such as fiction, news, and retelling of events. The imperfect provides background information such as time, weather, and location, while the preterite indicates the specific events that occurred. So it was 2 in the morning and the detective could no longer stay awake. He slowly stepped out of the car, stretched his legs, and raised his arms toward the dark sky. So here we have the imperfect. So it was 2. Time is imperfect in the past. But then also, that's kind of a background condition. He couldn't keep awake. Right? That's the situation. We don't have a beginning or an end to his tiredness. He's just really tired. But then he slowly got out of the car, stretched his legs, and raised his arms to the sky. Those are all specific actions in a sequence. They have a beginning, and they have an end, and they're shorter in comparison to this fact that he's just an ongoing tiredness. The next one. The moon was full, and there wasn't a single cloud in the sky. Suddenly, the detective heard a piercing scream coming from the park. So the moon was full. That's just kind of a description, background information. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. Again, that's just ongoing background information. But then when he heard the scream just kind of interrupts and kind of penetrates that ongoing background information. So you'd use the preterite there. All right, take a second and pause the video. I want you to answer each of these. I want you to choose whether you're going to use the imperfect or the preterite in each of these blanks. In just a minute, I'm going to give you I'll show you the answers, and I want you to correct it and then submit it to Moodle. So pause your video now.